To start off this series of Azure vlogs, focusing on the Azure 104 and the AZ-104, part of Microsoft Azure's cloud program, I'm going to start off with asking the basic question of figuring out what Azure actually is. So in essence, Azure is a facility that houses things such as compute power, storage space, and networking. Special. So then, using these resources, you can create things. And those things that you can create are things such as VMs, and databases and those kind of things. You're pretty much in its super basic form. You're using someone else's servers. You don't have access to the physical servers, but you can still use them. It's kind of like renting them out. Yep, so then within these, you can have various different products, such as VMs, and databases. So one nice thing about this is it doesn't need as much skill, so you don't have to physically set up all of this infrastructure. You can just use whatever resources that you want and do whatever you need to, but you don't physically have to own the servers, maintain the servers, and those other capital expenditure costs. So you're pretty much renting out a server. And it's a pay-as-you-go type thing, so you don't actually have to pay for one entire server. You can just pay for what you use. You cannot access these servers though, however, so you are just renting them out, and there's things like the Azure portal, the terminal, and Cloud Shell, and other type things, the type of those things that you can use to access those resources. So let's say you have a business. This is your business. And here's Azure. Just the entirety of one Azure region. So within that, there's going to be things such as regional pairs, and then within a specific data within the data. Yeah, so within those data centers, you're gonna have various different. So within one facility, you're gonna have a bunch of different data centers, and this could be any amount of miles away, and you can connect to it through networking. So this line is going to represent networking. Obviously, the closer that is, the less the latency that it has, and that's always nice if you're trying to keep latency low, to have one closer to you. Although that could make things a little more expensive depending on the region. Yeah, and going back to the whole CapEx thing, you don't physically own these servers. You don't have to run anything on them. You're just using them for what you need them for. And then to use these resources, you can use what are known as IaaS services, PAAS services, and SaaS solutions. So IaaS is infrastructure as a service. These are things like where you could have like you just make your VM or database, and then that would be like something that you'd have on this cloud. Then, so like those are like physical infrastructure things that they're providing you. They're just providing you the they're just providing you with what you need, like in terms of compute power, storage, etc. Then there's other things that are services, and these are more soft. No, I skipped a part. Yep. So then there's platform as a service. So they could have something set up for you, and then you can just work on anything you need to in that. And then the last thing is software as a service. So these are things like Office 365 or Microsoft Teams and those kind of resources that they can physically provide you. And then if you look up Microsoft Azure services, it'll come up with a list. This isn't what I was looking for, but there's like these would be your like platform as a service, like solution. So if you go into this, like you need something for AI, you can click on that. Then you can set everything up, and that would be a platform as a service solution. And you pay for what you need, and so like you don't have to prepare for peaks. Azure will automatically take care of that for you. Yep. So, and then Azure is split up into what are known as regions, and inside those regions there's data centers. And the closer you are, the less latency there'll be. However, these regions are connected to other regions, and this is known as Azure's global network. So this is also something you can look up, Microsoft's Azure Globe. And within this, you can see all of their you can see all of, why is it like this? You can see like there's a data center there, and then there we go. That should, yeah. So these are geographical regions. So like for instance, this one's China, then this one is India, and then within those there are regions such as Central. So then like if we're just looking at India, actually let's look at America. Yep, so we've got United States, and then within that there's regions such as West Central, West US, West US 2, West US 3, because we all need those, South Central US, Central US, etc. And those are the ones within the geographical region. And then all these connected lines that you can see here is what's connecting them all. It's known as Azure's global network. You can also see that they have these ground stations, these little purple satellite-looking things. You can also see these little satellites. Those aren't just for effect. They actually have satellites in the air that will transmit signals to the satellites, and it'll provide a lot of them are IoT services. So, like, in a super basic example, there's like a vending machine. It runs out of something. An IoT service can sense that and have more of that item delivered to you. So these satellites might be doing some small things like that, or might be doing like larger scale things. And something that's also cool is that Microsoft, is trying to remove their requirement for finite energy. So they're using wind, solar, and here's this down here, I think, is mixed energy. And their goal is to get rid of it by, I believe, 2027. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on it. So then, if we go back, that's not back. So then, within those, when you use your resources, you can use things like RBAC, which is role-based access control, which allows you to assign roles to people, and then that role will grant them permissions. Or you could use policy. That will limit like things that people can do and kind of control what they have to do. And then they can use budgets, and that will help make sure that no one's overusing what they're allowed. And then Azure Active Directory is a huge part of Azure. It holds most of the stuff that Azure does. I wouldn't say most, I said it holds a lot of key elements that Azure does and Azure provides. So I made a separate video on that I will link onto this one. And then if you already have any on-premise infrastructure, like at yours, like let's say you have like a server for data, you can either transfer that over, or through various services, you can connect that to Azure, and then that can become part of what you're able to use. So you can use other services, and there's also some of that in explaining how that works in the Azure AD video that I created. So I'll be linking the Azure AD video, and if you want to check anything else out, check out the AZ-104 playlist.